Welcome to Girl Talk with your host, Melissa Ann. Girl Talk is that show which discusses the real issues Black women face being a mom, a dad, a wife, a girlfriend, a sister, a co-worker, a therapist, or whatever hat Black women wear on any particular day. Why? Because Black women are just dope. Without further ado, here is your host, Melissa Ann.
Welcome to Girl Talk with your girl, Melissa Ann. Boy, oh boy, do we have a show. We just going to talk today. I got my girl, Andy, with me today. Andy, introduce yourself.
What up, what up? This is Andy, or Alejandra, as you would like. Happy to be here.
Alejandra. What are you, Alejandra? What's your nationality?
I don't know. It just depends on the day of the week, but for today, it'll be my mother is from Puerto Rico, my father is from Colombia, and I am from the wonderful place of Brooklyn. So
Crooklyn.
So it's the one borough in New York where we don't, when people ask you where you from, you don't say New York, you say Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, but you say it a little harder, I think. Brooklyn.
I know, it's funny because people right now, they're really, Brooklyn is like bougie now, right? And I'm from like the original Brooklyn. I'm from East New York, Brooklyn. So
it's definitely gentrified.
Yeah, there was no gentrification because all the white people on my block, they were crackheads. So
that's definitely a story for another day. But the 80s did not do New York well. I can tell you that.
That's for sure.
When the crack epidemic came out, and then remember the Just Say No.
I mean, I still remember going to my grandma's house looking at the handball courts talking about crack is whack from Whitney, right? I mean, that is just like, it's still up there too. But yeah, I mean, that was the time when you walked up from the train and they would be like, you want some weed? You want some heroin? You want some crack? You want some... you could get anything you want, and it was just out there.
That's crazy. New York was something. But definitely glad to have you here as we have our conversation. We're definitely going to talk about different topics. But today we're going to talk about have you ever been ghosted? And dating is difficult for women our age. And the Girl Talk audience has been privy to several conversations about dating and women dating and men dating. And we certainly have to get you back on Girl Talk and Girl Talk with the boys, because the boys definitely need some competition. They're asking for some women to jump on, so I need somebody to double team them because they are such characters. But anyway, I haven't dated in forever. I don't even know what dating is, but I know you have had recent dates. What is the dating scene like now out there for your age?
Man, the dating scene is trash. Like, literally. I think the whole thing is like, past your late 30s, it just gets worse. And for several reasons. I think one, I'm a transplant from New York down to the South, right? And dating in New York and dating in the South is completely different. I mean, the vibe is different. The people are different. The level of expectation is different. The type of places you'll go to is even different. And it has its ups and downs as far as it's good and bad. But then at the same time, I think here being in the South, there's definitely a lot more people who are in like these long-term or have been in these long-term relationships. So what I found is there's been two types of men in the demographic that I date in, right? That either have been in a very long, been in a long relationship or previous married, and then now they're moving on, but they perhaps have bad habits. And then the other type is there's a lot out here that are just fronting like they ain't got nobody and they got several somebodies, or they have a whole wife at home.
Right.
And they just find that it's like cool to like completely lie about it.
Isn't a whole wife.
A whole, not a half. Like they got a whole one, That's what's really interesting. I mean, funny story. I recently signed up for the app Black, right? And I'm on there. And I had literally been on it not even 15 minutes. Not even 15 minutes. And my really great friend, as I'm scrolling, the app is kind of like Tinder, right? It's like the Black version of Tinder. Well, the person is like swipe left, swipe right, right? So when you swipe right, you liking the person who liked me, her boyfriend.
Her
So,
boyfriend liked you?
yeah.
Ciao.
So I was like, what? Now, mind you, I have not seen him in a minute. He probably didn't recognize who I was. My hair was very different, and all of that. I mean, I was definitely done up in the photo. And not that I'm drastically different when I'm done up, but just we haven't been around each other, you know, hard body like that, that maybe they did not recognize who it was. But
Did you tell her?
I sure did. I
And she
I
said
took
what?
a screenshot. Well, that's the thing. Women, we compromise, or perhaps make excuses, and you know, I don't get too tough in their relationship just because I don't care for the dude anyway. So I kind of battled myself with even telling her about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there's been other issues in the past, but it's just a really interesting thing. I mean, I was on there just the other day, and another girl that I know from the gym, her husband's on there.
Girl, I was watching what is Marriage Boot Camp. So I was
Mm,
watching Marriage Boot Camp, and the counselor or therapist or whatever they are, because I don't watch it often. One of the celebrities said, he's cheated on me. There's been fidelity, and the counselor said, well, that's because something's missing. And she was like, well, if it's missing, why don't you just fix it instead of cheating? And he just kept saying, well, there's something missing. There's something missing that he's searching for in the other woman. That makes no sense to me. Why stay in the relationship if something is missing and you don't think the person can fix it? Then move on. Why you got to cause all of this trauma for the person with whom you are in the relationship, like this young lady, your friend? This man is straight up on blackplanet.com.
well, I think it's two things though, right? I think people use that something is missing as kind of an excuse, but also because they honestly just don't know how to communicate. Do you know how many times I have been in a situation where if the person has simply been honest, or just like straight up had said, look, this is what I want, this is, I'm not looking for anything serious, or the fact that they just could not really communicate that maybe they dislike something, or they wanted something different, or because I think it's kind of like it's a chess game, right?
Or you greedy.
Right, or you want a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, I feel like people will put others in situations but not give them the choice to determine whether they want to be in that situation.
Exactly.
I mean, I almost respect a man who is about it, right? Who really is just like, look, shorty, I mean, I'm you know, I'm out here, I'd love to find something serious, but right now it's not serious, right? You have to you either good to have a good time when we're together, and you good if it, as we progress, but I am going to be seeing other people, right? And at least be upfront about it so that the person can decide whether they want to move into that situation like that.
Or tell them what you want. It's about
Right,
sex. It's about marriage. It's about relationship. It's
right,
about just
right, right,
kicking
right.
it. I just want a companion. I don't want any of those things. I want somebody to go to the movies. like you said, allow the woman to make the determination on whether or not I want to engage with you. You don't have to come in and lie and say all the things that the woman wants to hear,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing you got 497 people on the side.
Well, I think the thing is too that the difficult piece about it is we were not raised to be communicators, right? We were raised to kind of put things under the table. We're raised to go outside and kind of hide things, or I mean, I know for me in my family and my household, right? In my, you know, in growing up in a Hispanic household, like it was very macho. My father expected to have food always on the table when he got home. My mother would iron his uniform every day. Like, but he also wanted to cheat on her his their entire marriage. He
Mm-hmm.
wanted to have his three little girls at home with his wife, but he also wanted to have the ability to have whatever he had outside. And in those times it was like you should just be able to accept it. So my mom put up with a lot of stuff for many years, being foolish and looking foolish for many things, just because you didn't talk about what was going on, like that. We don't talk about Bruno, right? We don't talk about what's happening in our private lives, because we need to put a facade, out there for
Mm-hmm.
people to believe that we are this big, wonderful, happy family. But what does that do? That created a lot of issues for me, because, it was hard to recognize a decent relationship, because I only saw this messed up relationship that my mother had,
Mm-hmm.
right?
No, I'm thinking about that. Yeah, I mean, I think in my household, my mom same thing, old school, because my parents were way, 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 way older. If my parents were still alive today, they'd be in their 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So I did see my mom take care of her husband, cook, clean, all of those things, make sure he was taken care of, fix his plate, those types of things. But what I didn't see was love. So I didn't see, an embrace, or they didn't tell anybody that they loved them. So they definitely didn't tell each other that they loved each other. So you don't necessarily have that model. I know how to take care of a man, right? But then the affection piece, I know how to do that, but kind of shy in doing it because I didn't see it often. And so what does that lead to? Naturally, you fall for the first person that tells you all the things you didn't hear.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then, I end up with this baby in a single mother position, just like you in a single mother position. But my daughter is not going to know what does a solid relationship look like, because I've never been married. Do you feel like that's the same for you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that that's been the difficulty, of being a single mother right now. I mean, here I am, this girl raising a young black man, right? First of all, I'm a woman. I'll never be able to teach him to be a man. I could teach him to be a good person. I could
Mm-hmm.
teach him to, have manners. I could teach him to, know what how to treat people. But it's also I can't teach him to be a black man in America, right? And that's really, really, really hard. So I think it has affected me in dating, because I have held off from having major relationships, because I was so fearful of having the wrong relationship in front of my son.
Right.
And I have like literally shied away from being in anything in front of him, and only sought out to have superficial relationships for self gratification, just because I didn't want to be in a situation where I was going to have to worry about the way that the person treated me in front of him.
Right. Or not only that, girls emulate. Boys think their mothers are, you know, fast and free.
Right?
So,
Exactly.
girls emulate what their mothers do, and then boys think their mom is fast and free and loose and promiscuous and all of those different things. Not to say I was not dating, but no one ever met my daughter because
Right?
as she grew up, A, didn't want her to emulate, but B, wasn't serious enough for me to say, okay, I need to introduce you to this person. But as we both talked about, I was molested. So I always had a in the back of my mind, I'm not gonna have somebody in my house and I could happen, won't happen, will happen. I don't know. I'm not gonna put that her at that risk.
Hmm. And that was me too. You know what I'm saying? Like those were things that happened. I think the thing for me was like the childhood trauma that I grew up with. I didn't want my son to have that. And it was a big reason that I moved away from New York. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, my family lives in New York, loved them to death, but there were things that, as I grew up and I got older and as I got saved, right? I mean, I gave my heart to the Lord and stuff, those were things that I wanted to break, literally curses, right? Generational curses that I did not want my son to have. So things like, talking bad about his father, even though his father wasn't in his life as he was growing up when he was little. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't allow it. I wouldn't let anybody speak negatively about him,
Right.
because I personally was not going to be one of those bitter mothers, right, that talk negative and talk junk about my son's dad. Because I was never going to have that when he got older and he had a relationship with him, that he could ever say, that's why I stayed away from your mother, right? And then your child will go towards them more because of the fact that they think that you're bitter or whatever. Plus, I wasn't going to have a revolving door around him. So I think
Right.
that all of these things have culminated to be reasons and kind of like the meat behind why it has been difficult for me, because my level of expectation is high, but at the same time I feel like it's not that high to that somebody can't do, but at the same time, it's like I'm a dope ass friend. Like I mean, I have so many guy friends that we are legit just friends, right? So I know that I could have that, but it's like I find that realm of being a girlfriend and being a friend really difficult for men um to be able to bring together. It's like if I don't have to depend on you wholeheartedly like this, like because I have this strong personality and I'm very independent and I don't have to depend on you that much, it's almost like a turn off.
Yeah, men don't want independent women. They have to have someone that depends on them in some pieces of their world, and being independent is, in some for some men is not very attractive. So one of the things, like, I was reading this thing on Instagram. It says 5 signs he's into you. He regularly asks you out on dates. He's consistent with communication. He doesn't complain about you not calling or texting him enough. He mostly initiates the contact. He enjoys spending time with you even if sex is not involved. He wines, dines, and spoils you with acts of service and gifts. What do you
Hmm.
think?
I mean,
And the question was, when's the last time you dated someone like that?
oh, it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Do they freaking exist? Now, some people will say, yeah, they exist, but where? As you said, I mean, a lot of men have. There's a larger pool of women than there are men. That's just a fact. I've had women on my show. My friend T Marie's on the show, and she talked about there are men out there, but your pool, you have to look in different pools.
I mean, at this point, I feel like I need to start dating outside of the races that I have decided to stay within. That's legit. Like, what's funny is that men of different races actually just don't try to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I'm Hispanic, and Hispanic men don't even try to kick it to me. Like, not at all. Like, I don't even remember the last time a Spanish guy tried to just simply say, "Can I take you to dinner?"
Why do you think?
I don't know. And that's one thing. It's just funny. It's just they don't.
Maybe you got to speak their language, papi. Maybe you got to speak their language. They
But I
don't know
do
you
speak their
Hispanic.
language.
Maybe
I
they
do
don't know
speak
you
their language.
Hispanic. You
You
don't
know,
necessarily look Hispanic.
I mean, right, but I don't look Hispanic for being in North Carolina. It's not
Right.
that I don't look Hispanic because Hispanics in New York are all over the place.
Yes, but like if first time I saw someone that was Dominican, I did not know they were Dominican until they started speaking because they're darker skinned. So what I'm
It's
saying is
not that
you're
they're
light
darker
skinned.
skinned, they're black. Like they're black. That see, I think the thing is like here, when it comes to Hispanic people, we are such a melting pot. The problem is like in the South is that there is black, white, and Mexican. So the Hispanic perception is Mexican, right? It's changing, but I've been in North Carolina for a long time. So when people hear me speak Spanish, like literally, I can't even tell you how many times they were like, "Oh yeah, where you learn Spanish from?"
But you have an accent.
Yeah, but they think my accent is from New York. They don't think my accent is from being Hispanic. It's like the version of Hispanic here is just Central American. It's not actually, you know what I mean? It's not actually like there are other countries that speak Spanish. Like I said I was from Colombia and somebody said, "Oh, what part of South Carolina?" Like, and I was like, "No, Colombia with the O." And they still didn't know where I was from. Like I just say Central America. I mean, South America, right? Literally, it was like almost giving them a whole different lesson. So the whole point of this is, I think just in general, dating for me has just been particularly interesting because again, it's very different in the North, very different in the South, right? And then it's just that the people who try to talk to me just are interesting altogether.
100% agree. That is totally different in New York. It's totally different. Like you could walk down the street, somebody's hollering at you.
All the time.
Is all the time. It's just totally different vibe in New York. Now, I got a question for you. You ever been ghosted?
Oh yeah. Oh well, let's most recently. I have ghosted before. Let me preface that. I have ghosted before. There has been times where I have just gotten like a vibe that I've been like, and I'm like the type
I've
of
done
person.
it.
I'm the type of person. If you can't capture my interest, I'm just like, yeah, this is like, or if I feel like the conversation is strictly conversating about you talking about something sexual, I'm a dead it. I'm not gonna speak to you. I'm gonna be like, but I have tried to be a full grown up, right? And say, say something more like, listen, I don't think this is gonna work. It's really cool. I'm good, right? But the problem with that too is that I've done that and it has turned in. What do you mean? Like I mean, it's almost like begging, right? And you don't want to go through that, right? That's one. The other thing is like when somebody's done it to me, I've never understood only because I feel like I'm a very open and transparent person. And so I guess the most recent one, we had a full discussion about like if this doesn't work, at least we'll be good friends, right? and that if it wasn't going to work, we would at least say that.
Yeah, but you already know men are just, they don't just tell you what you want to hear. They on to
Mhm.
the next one. And then you gotta also, everybody is not you. So even you were trusting, right? You trusted that he was going to do what he said he was going to do. But men are, some of them are just not realistic. They don't always tell the truth. So maybe there was something that turned him off and he just felt like he didn't want to talk to you. It's probably because you put him in his place or told him like it TIS and he didn't like that.
I just don't understand how you're supposed to pick somebody up from the airport and you totally just blow them off. And after like the flight was 2 hours. Like what happened in the 2 hours, right? Where I say I'm getting on the plane and you're like, great. I land and you just blow me off.
So what happened in the 2 hours?
Like, was there an epiphany? Was there, I mean, because I didn't hear from them until 7 p.m. And it was a crazy text about trying to talk about, yeah, I was, some craziness, right? Just an excuse or whatever. But I didn't even acknowledge it. It wasn't like, oh, did you make it home? Like, there couldn't have been like, you know, I'm sorry I can't come. Let me get your Uber or take, let me know if you can't. You know what I mean? Like nothing. There just was no communication.
That goes with what I just said. The man that's right for you will do all those things that I just said, right?
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
believe it. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
So that, I mean, he saved you trouble down the road. You pressing something, you putting, what is it? The square peg in the round hole. It ain't gonna fit.
And it's funny because like I'll never forget there was this one dude where, and this is funny. We were dating for a few months and I really liked him. We had some really good times together. And you know what? He was straight up from the beginning that he was dating. He didn't want to have anything exclusive just yet. He wanted to see where it would go. Okay, so great. Like I'm like, okay, cool. Let's do it. We're just gonna have a good time. We were dating for a good while, having a good time, whatever. And so what happened was that he was supposed to come over and we were going to go out to some hip hop thing that I had gotten some tickets for. He said, well, he'll be at my house, 1 o'clock. So I was like, all right, well, this thing starts at 2. I had cooked dinner, all this stuff. He texted me 5 minutes before 1 to tell me I'm going to be an hour late. I was like,
Okay.
okay, no problem. We can make it work, whatever. After that, I didn't hear from him.
Ever again?
I didn't hear from him, but I'll tell you this is funny. So I didn't hear from him. So I had sent a text message to him earlier that week of a picture of something. And 3 months later, you know how when you are texting or you're on your phone, on the iPhone, I'm saying, and a message comes through, it may open the message, right? While and you could accidentally send something to somebody because of the way the settings are. It'll open the message
Yeah.
if you're in the mix of another message or whatever. So he answered this message 3 months later. And I accidentally sent a message about what was going on with me at the time. I was going through some stuff with orthopedic. And I didn't realize I had sent to him the message other than the other person. So then I read what he wrote and he was like, yo, what's going on? Why are you going through, and I said, what? So I realized he was replying to a message from 3 months ago. And I said, listen, I sent you that message 3 months ago. He goes, oh, it just came through. It just came through.
Okay.
I said,
Good
oh,
night.
really? Maybe it was caught up in the loop where your apology was as well.
Right. Good night.
Yeah. So ironically, I run into this mofo at an event, and I'm a nice person. I just don't, I don't like grudges, whatever. I'm not gonna mess with you, you know what I mean? Like, but anyway, he at later, after I left, decides to send me a whole apology about why he did what he did. And it was funny. Oh, I didn't say this, but prior to that date that he ghosted me, he sat me down and told me that he wanted us to be exclusive. That's why it was crazy. Because he sat me down being silly and doing all this stuff, talking about, all right, pinky swear, we're going to dead everybody else. There's going to be nobody. It's me and you. We're going to do the damn thing. And then 2 days later, he decides to ghost, right?
He was crazy again. He saved you again. Round peg, square hole. He saved you from something, or God saved you from something. But people, I always say, the imposter is the person that shows up for at least the first 3 to 6 months, and then the real person comes through and starts knocking on your door. So that's the time when you need to make the determination on whether they gonna stay or whether they gonna go. I don't know. I'm sure I've been ghosted. It's been so long, but I'm usually the one that's kind of like a ghost. I'm a Gemini.
How long has it been? This is what I want to know.
I can't even remember. That's what I'm saying.
Ooh.
It's long time.
Well, a long.
long. I don't know.
We need to work on it so that you can at least have a ghosting experience.
I don't want nobody ghosting me. That's why it's a long time. Don't be trying to ghost me. I gotta fight you at that point.
I know.
The way my PTSD is set up, we'll be in there fighting. That girl in that movie, I'll find you.
Now you're gonna be like the girl. You're gonna be like the girl from The Ring. They gonna go through. They gonna get a call. You're gonna die in 7 days.
You playing with my doggone emotions. I'm way too sensitive. But Andy, it's been a pleasure. This was a great conversation. We need to continue the conversation and certainly invite you to join Girl Talk with the boys on next week. Who knows what our topic is, but the boys are going to keep you on your toes. Anything, last parting words you want to leave our listeners?
Nah, dating may suck, but don't give up. There's love for everybody out there. And just stay tuned, because I'm going to keep the boys on their toes too.
I know that's right. Give it to them. They're ready. They're ready. Hey, listen, it has been a pleasure for having Girl Talk with Andy today, Miss North Carolina via New York, via Colombia, via the Puerto Rico. What?
Oh, and just remember, it's not Colombia, South Carolina. That's Colombia.
Colombia, Alejandra. We hope that you enjoyed this episode, and as always, I see you because I am you.
You have just listened to the Girl Talk podcast with your host, Melissa Ann. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play. Until next time, remember, I see you because I am you.